Chapter 22. Examination of the Tathagata. Verse 1. The Tathagata is not the aggregation of the skandhas, nor is it different from the skandhas. He is not in the skandhas, nor are the skandhas in him. As he cannot possess the skandhas, what actually is he? Verse 2. If a Buddha appropriates the skandhas, it is not so from the standpoint of self-existence. As there can be no self-existence, how can there be a Buddha from the standpoint of other existence? Verse 3. It would thus follow that the relationship by virtue of other existence will constitute a non-self. But how could that which is a non-self be a Tathagata? Verse 4. If self-existence does not exist, how does other existence exist? Apart from self-existence and other existence, what could be the nature of a Tathagata? Verse 5. If a Tathagata exists without appropriating the skandhas, then he should be appropriating the skandhas now, and he should be a Tathagata in virtue of the appropriation. Verse 6. Again, no Tathagata could exist without appropriating the skandhas. And how does an entity which cannot exist without appropriation appropriate the skandhas? Verse 7. There is neither an appropriating process nor an unappropriating entity. How could there ever be a Tathagata which is without a process of appropriation? Verse 8. How could a Tathagata be known by his appropriating process when he does not exist in terms of the fivefold nature of identity and difference with respect to the function of the skandhas? Verse 9. Again, the appropriating process cannot function from the standpoint of self-existence. If nothing exists in virtue of self-existence, how could it exist in virtue of other existence? Verse 10. Consequently, all instances of appropriation and the appropriating entity are in the nature of sunya. But then, how could a Tathagata in the nature of sunya be known in terms of sunya? Verse 11. Nothing could be asserted to be sunya, asunya, both sunya and asunya, and neither sunya nor asunya. They are asserted only for the purpose of provisional understanding. Verse 12. How could the fourfold possible natures of permanence, impermanence, etc. manifest in quiescence? Again, how could the fourfold limit, limitless, etc. manifest in quiescence? Verse 13. One who is firmly entrenched in asserting or grasping the existence and non-existence of the Tathagata will, in turn, even discriminate on the existence and non-existence of the Tathagata in the nirvanic realm. Verse 14. As the Tathagata in its self-existence is in the nature of sunya, it is not possible to reason that the Buddha exists or does not exist after liberation. Verse 15. Those who resort wholly to provisional descriptions in speaking of the Buddha, which is actually beyond description and destruction, are impaired by the descriptions themselves and cannot understand the Tathagata. Verse 16. The Tathagata's nature of self-existence is also the nature of this worldly existence. The Tathagata, strictly speaking, is without the nature of self-existence, and this worldly existence is likewise so.